Aliens and predators and marines, oh my, on today's episode of Playing with Fear. Welcome back to JoBlo Horror Videos Playing with Fear, where we take a look at some of the landmark horror titles throughout the history of gaming. Today we will discuss an often overlooked title in the history of gaming, burdened primarily by releasing on a largely unsuccessful platform in the Atari Jaguar.
Jaguar! Jaguar! Jaguar!
Not only is Alien vs. Predator a reason to own Atari's failed 64-bit console, but it laid the groundwork for how to do a horror license justice in video game form and added unseen depth to the first-person shooter genre. In 1979, Ridley Scott unleashed the horror masterpiece Alien onto the world, and, much like other successful franchises, it would get the video game treatment. Beginning with the aptly named Alien on the Atari 2600 in 1982, game developers would try a handful of different approaches to game design. Pac-Man clones, top-down escape simulators, and side-scrolling action set-pieces all made the rounds for the property throughout the early 80s and 90s. Each new film, 1986's Aliens from James Cameron, and David Fincher's Alien 3 from 1992, would bring additional games in varying styles, all starring the dangerous xenomorph. The first film, while being steeped in science fiction, eventually becomes a sort of space slasher film, with the alien picking off the crew members one by one until Ripley, the film's final girl, finally blows the creature out into space. Spoiler alert for a 42-year-old film that you should have absolutely seen already. While the film boasts a great score, memorable set design, and fairly good acting, it was the xenomorph, designed by Swiss artist H.R. Giger, that became the standout and icon of the film. 1987 would give us another cinematic extraterrestrial classic with the Arnold Schwarzenegger vehicle Predator. Following Dutch and his military unit in the jungle under the false pretenses of rescuing a foreign cabinet minister, the film sees the unit stalked by an extremely talented and dangerous hunter in the form of the Predator. One by one, the team is taken out by the creature until only Dutch is left to take out the monster. Gee, sounds familiar when you say it like that. Similarly to the Alien franchise, Predator would spawn a sequel and get the video game treatment, though less on both counts. The first game would be Predator on the Nintendo Entertainment System in 1987 to coincide with the film, followed by games of the second film in 1990 and 1992 for various microcomputers, and later the three mainline Sega systems. Both of these franchises and their respective medias were popular, but they wouldn't meet until Dark Horse Comics released the first series, Alien vs. Predator, in 1989. They would continue to publish this matchup for over 30 years, and the plots would influence toy lines, novels, big-budget movies, and of course, video games. The first of these virtual fights to the death would be the Super Nintendo side-scrolling beat-em-up Alien vs. Predator. You take control of a predator who receives a distress signal from Vega 4, where a nest of aliens has taken control. Less there to save the colonists and more to challenge yourself to a good hunt, the Predator fights through 6 stages in a procedural, if not overly difficult, beat-em-up game. This concept would be taken further and better 8 months later when Capcom released the all-time classic Alien vs. Predator. Taking the beat-em-up action and ratcheting up to 11, this arcade exclusive would see up to 3 players choose from either 2 predators or 2 humans, including Dutch from the 87 original film, and go on a hunt to eradicate the aliens, Queen included, from a fictionalized city in Southern California. While this game is an undisputed classic, it doesn't really capture the horror action vibe that the original films looked to create. It instead very closely resembles a comic book set in motion, with the humans being more cyborg in appearance, and the overall experience being more akin to a cartoon in a video game form. Enter developer Rebellion. Rebellion was founded in Oxford, England by the Kingsley brothers, Jason and Chris. They presented the idea for a 3D Dragon Flight game to Atari UK, who were so impressed that they were hired on to make 2 games for the upcoming Atari Jaguar system. One of these 2 was Alien vs. Predator. You are the final alien drone. Your queen has been kidnapped and your only goal is to rescue her before she is killed for sport or used as a weapon by the humans. Making your way through vents and various floors, you bite, claw, and whip your tail against predators and marines alike. After battling through enemy lines, you are able to save your queen and ensure your species will thrive and dominate. You are a nameless predator. Your ship is docked onto the Golgotha training base after receiving a distress call from the inhabitants. You are not there to help though. No, you are there to hunt down an alien queen and bring honor and glory to your clan by collecting her skull. Using all the hunting weapons at your disposal, you sneak and kill your way through marines looking to survive and alien drones looking to protect their queen. When all is said and done, you battle through the nest and bring honor to you and your clan with the skull of the queen of a powerful race. You are Private Lance J. Lewis. The base has been overrun by aliens and predators. You have no weapons or way to get help. Your one goal is to blow the ship to Kingdom Come with the self-destruct failsafe and get out alive before it goes off. Finding clearance keycards and weapons left throughout the vessel, you take the elevators and vents to get you where you need to be. You work your way to the Queen Alien nest where she is the last obstacle between you and the bomb. Defeating her and setting the timer, you barely make it to the escape pod before the ship and everything else inside of it blows. so the story isn't the expository revelation that later horror games tried to flesh out, but look at the type of game and the time period. First-person shooters barely had more than a text screen of story in the beginning and end of the game in those early years. The basis for the game had a lot to pull from, but the time constraints on the game for a brand new system, as well as the developers still figuring out what they could and couldn't do in a first-person shooter, left the story on the back burner. In terms of gameplay, did you notice there were 3 storylines for 3 characters back there? Up to this point in FPS games, the player would follow the exploits of one character through multiple levels or episodes, but AVP gives the player the option to play as the alien, predator, or marine right off the bat. This was a huge innovation that AVP brought to the genre, and even then, it didn't catch on as a regular feature throughout the FPS genre like it did in, say, third-person survival horror games. First, let's discuss the Marine, as he's the most complex of the 3 playable characters. On the surface, your goal is to blow up the ship and escape, but the way you do it is different from your average mid-90s FPS. When you awaken out of cryosleep, you are completely defenseless. Thankfully, walking out of the first room nets you your first weapon, a shotgun. The Marine plays out much closer to survival horror than the FPS games before it. id Software's landmark shooters Wolfenstein 3D and Doom were littered with ammo, and the main goal was to shoot your way through enemies while finding keys to aid in your progression. AVP treats the situation much differently. First off, ammo is not abundant. There's usually a better case to flee rather than fight, or at the very least, pick your battles. Second, the Marine does have to find keys, but they're no longer just the color-coded squares you'd see in past games. He must find the clues written in the logs on various computer stations to find out where the keys are to get him to the next floor. As you progress, you will find a pulse rifle, flamethrower, and smart gun to beef up your arsenal. In addition to these armaments from the films, you will also be able to find and use the tracking device that will show you how many enemies are near and their location, or at least direction. Another strategy when fighting the alien enemies is where to kill them. Just like their movie counterparts, their blood is deadly acid, and if the player character walks over it, they will lose some health. Shooting an alien in a doorway is a quick way to guarantee health issues on that floor. Unfortunately, in the vent areas, there's no way around this, and you just need to have the health to make it through. The facehugger aliens will also ruin your day in this game by jumping on your face and not only damaging you, but covering your field of view. Next up is the Predator. While your mission is as straightforward as can be, kill the alien queen and bring back her skull, your means to get there are not what you would expect. The Predator works with an honor system. Sure, you can use your invisibility cloak often to silently kill your foes, but this is seen as dishonorable, and you will lose unlock points. These unlock points are used to unlock your full arsenal. The claw, staff, disc blade, and plasma cannon are all here, but only by honor killing will you unlock them. While you are bigger and scarier than your human counterpart, you will still take damage from both alien facehuggers and the corpses of your fallen enemies. While the Predator does not require clearance keys, he also cannot use the vent system. He takes elevators to the different floors and clears them out to unlock his arsenal and work his way to the Queen. Probably the easiest of the 3 modes, the Predator is also the most overpowered of the 3 characters. In addition to weapon choices, the Predator also has multiple vision modes to help him on his quest. The final character is of course the alien. The alien character is the weakest of the 3 choices, but also has the game's most interesting mechanic. You can cocoon a marine enemy so that when you die, and since the alien character cannot find medkits like the other 2, you will absolutely die, then you will appear in one of up to 5 available cocoon slots you have left in the level. While you can save at any time like you can with the Marine and the Predator, this mode gives you an almost unlimited number of lives, so as long as you remember to cocoon Marines every now and again, you'll be fine. The alien is armed with a claw, tail, and bite attack. He does not need to find keys and doesn't bother with the elevator to change floors, only slinking through the vents to move through the different levels. While having the least number of weapons and the least access to health, the alien is certainly the most unique player choice found in the game. There are certainly a lot of things this game does to push a scary environment. There's no music in the game. Gone are the blips of Wolfenstein or the iconic death metal MIDI tracks of Doom. The only background noise is the low hum of the power from the ship. It's a nice touch. To tie into the lack of music, the screech of the aliens when they spot you will surely put some sweat on your brow. And an even better use of sound design, however, is the tell that a predator is stalking you. With the iconic distorted whisper, the predator will let you know it's coming for you long before you see it. Finally, once you get the motion tracker, it can be helpful, but the blips will also add extra stress to your day. Is the game scary nowadays? Certainly not compared to the later AVP games or current horror first-person shooters, but it still has a spooky charm. Was it scary in 1995? Absolutely. Between the digitized sprites of aliens and predators, as well as all of the above-mentioned gameplay and audio design, there really wasn't anything else like it, and much of what made it so unique is still effective today. The legacy here is both multifaceted and complicated. The game was released in 1995, and 26 years later has never received a port or remaster. Jaguar emulation is spotty at best, and of course this is one of the more expensive Jaguar games to pick up. In addition, many of the horror or survival horror elements were tweaked or even skipped entirely by the horror FPS titles of the mid-1990s. Games like System Shock or Blood are fantastic horror games in their own right, but are also completely different from AVP. While we would get a slow release of Alien or Predator games here and there, we wouldn't get a true horror experience until 2014's Alien Isolation. There is a feel-good story here, though. While the Jaguar system was an objective failure, the game itself sold well, and Rebellion, the studio behind it, was able to make quite the career out of their entry to the Jaguar. Not only are they still making games today, but were able to remake their vision of Alien vs. Predator twice, in 1999 for the PC, and again in 2010 for the PC, Xbox 360, and PlayStation 3. While those two and other AVP games are certainly more accessible to play, they surely wouldn't exist without the first steps taken here. Have any of you out there played this? What are your favorite Alien vs. Predator games? Let us know in the comments. Thank you for watching our show. If you like what you see, please subscribe to our JoBlo Horror Videos channel. Tell your friends who like this sort of content and turn on the bell to receive notifications for all of our latest videos. We're an independent company and we appreciate all your support.